Hello and welcome to the Losers Win Again, and we have another quarterback trade here to talk about today. Carson Wentz traded to the Washington Commanders, and it's not getting very good feedback from the sports media, and I'm going to be here to tell you why. It might not be as bad as you think. Go ahead and hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell if you like the content that I put out week to week. And yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the Carson Wentz fantasy fallout. So let's go ahead and break down this trade. Washington is receiving a 2022 7th round pick from Indianapolis as the last part of the Carson Wentz trade that is sending him from the Colts to the Commanders per source. So pretty much Washington gets Wentz, a 2nd round and a 7th round pick, while the Colts get a 2nd, a 3rd, and a conditional 3rd round pick. I don't see how this doesn't win on both sides. So Colts trade Carson Wentz. They free up a lot of cap space, and they now become the team with the most salary in the league to spend this offseason, which I think that would be great for the Colts. They need to build some depth on both sides of the ball, so I think it's a great fit for them. And then Carson Wentz, he gets traded to the Commanders, which a lot of people are getting pretty critical of Carson Wentz. And I just want to say, I believe this is a great fit for the Commanders, and I'm going to tell you why with fantasy numbers. Now let's see why Carson Wentz is not a bad trade for the Washington Commanders. And we're just going solely off of stats here. For fantasy points last year, Carson Wentz was ranked QB 14. He was ranked 10th in passing touchdowns with 27. He was ranked 18th, which is about bottom half of the league with 3,563 passing yards. The most important stat that I'm going to talk about on all of this is a huge deal, which is 43.3 deep ball completion percentage, which was 6th in the league. That's very impressive, and we're going to tell you why that's so important here in a minute. But air yards per game was 231.2, which was 25th in the league. Wasn't great. And then he was 13th in the league in interceptable passes a game, which is 1.6 per game. These stats aren't terrible, and I think when he goes to the Washington Commanders, these stats are going to be a lot better because Ron Rivera is a very particular head coach. He just doesn't let people toss around the ball however they want. I think he's going to be able to control Wentz a lot better than most coaches could. But let's go ahead and go to the next slide where we're going to talk about players' fantasy stocks that are going up. And this deep ball completion percentage is going to make a lot of sense. So now we're going to talk about players' fantasy stocks that are going to go up. Terry McLaurin's at the top of that list. And for the main reason being, look at Carson Wentz's deep ball completion percentage, 43.3. I believe Terry McLaurin is going to have an outstanding year next year with Carson Wentz at quarterback. Then we look at Logan Thomas. I believe his fantasy stock is going to go up a lot with Carson Wentz as the quarterback. Look, Carson Wentz loves his tight ends, and he's going to pepper Logan Thomas with targets. I hope Logan Thomas comes back 100% healthy next season because I believe this is going to be something that we're all going to be jumping on whenever draft time starts. And then Antonio Gibson, I think his fantasy stock's going to go up just due to the fact they're going to run the ball a lot more next year, in my opinion. He ran the ball a lot last year, but I think they're going to run the ball a lot more, and I think Antonio Gibson might finally get involved in the passing game consistently. Now let's move on to why Terry McLaurin will have a resurgence in 2022. And you see I got Michael Pittman up here in his last year's stats, and I'm comparing them to Terry McLaurin's stats last year. So let's go ahead and do it. Michael Pittman was a wide receiver 17 last year, while Terry McLaurin was only a wide receiver 25. Terry McLaurin had a terrible year last year, and it was most likely due to inconsistent quarterback play from Taylor Heineke. Michael Pittman had 6 touchdowns last year. He was 18th in the league, while Terry McLaurin had 5 touchdowns last year, which was tied for 29th in the league. Not too big of a difference there. Michael Pittman had 1,082 receiving yards, while Terry McLaurin had 1,053, which wasn't a big difference there either. And then contested catch rate, 40.5. Terry McLaurin's was 44.1, which is one stat he had him beaten. But the reason why I bring up these stats is Michael Pittman was damn near 10 slots better than Terry McLaurin was last year in fantasy value. Give Carson Wentz Terry McLaurin this year coming up, and I believe these roles are going to reverse. Think about it like this. Terry McLaurin is going to get a quarterback upgrade, which is going to bring his fantasy value all the way up. And you need it if you're doing best ball drafts, you need to get in early on this, because he's going to be a real big sneaker pick for a lot of people when they're promoting their fantasy shows. And I'm getting into you here first. Draft Terry McLaurin. Which leads me to why I think Michael Thomas could possibly have a down year in fantasy football 2022. Look, this is all just based on what we're looking at right now. As of right now, the Colts look to be the favorites to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, which I do not agree with. You get rid of Carson Wentz for a reason. I think Carson Wentz and Jimmy Garoppolo are not very different from each other. And if Jimmy Garoppolo gets to the Colts, I think it's going to be a bad thing for Michael Pittman. So let's go further into this on the next slide. So Commander Carson versus Jimmy G. We've already gone over Carson Wentz's stats, but we have not gone over Jimmy G's. And I think this is the main reason why Carson Wentz is going to help Terry McLaurin, and Jimmy Garoppolo, if the Colts sign him or trade for him, will be a bad thing. So they weren't very different in the quarterback rankings. Carson Wentz was ranked 14th. Jimmy Garoppolo was ranked 17th. Then we get to passing touchdowns. This is a big deal here. Passing touchdowns, Carson Wentz, 27th. Jimmy Garoppolo, 20th. Then we move on to the passing yards, and this is where a lot of you guys are going to look at this video and be like, you said Carson Wentz is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Look how many more passing yards. He's got a little over 300 more passing yards than Carson Wentz did. Let's not forget who Jimmy Garoppolo was throwing the ball to last year, Deebo Samuel. And he had a ton of yards after the catch that helped Jimmy Garoppolo in this category. So I'm not holding any weight to this. Now let's go back to what I thought was one of the most important stats on this sheet right here. Deep ball completion percentage. We already said Carson Wentz was 6th in the league with 43.3. Jimmy Garoppolo, 30.6. 27th in the league. How in the world is this going to help the Colts? I'm waiting. Someone tell me. Drop it in the comments if you think you have the answer. Go ahead. It's not going to help Michael Pittman Jr. I think this would be a terrible signing for the Indianapolis Colts. And then let's go ahead and look at air yards. Carson Wentz was better in that category. Not by much, but he was significantly better. And now we look at the interceptable passes per game. Carson Wentz, 1.6, 13th in the league, top half of the league. Jimmy Garoppolo, 2.1, 22nd, bottom half of the league. if you were to tell me Carson Wentz threw less interceptions to Jimmy Garoppolo, I wouldn't have believed you until I looked at these stats. And honestly, I think this was a terrible decision the Colts made because they didn't have a secure backup plan. Jimmy Garoppolo is going under shoulder surgery. Who's to say he will be the same quarterback when he returns to play? And if the Colts trade for him, I believe it will be a huge mistake. But yeah, go ahead and drop in the comments. What do you think? Did the Colts make a mistake by releasing Carson Wentz to get Jimmy Garoppolo, if that's who they sign or trade for? Yeah, let me know what you think. But as of right now, I am not buying that Carson Wentz or Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Carson Wentz. I'm not buying it. Now we're moving on to the next move the Commanders must make this offseason. And I honestly think the next move they make should be signing Will Fuller. We just talked about how Carson Wentz was 6th in the league in deep ball completion percentage. And who better to throw the deep ball to than Will Fuller? It would make this offense spread out so much if they could sign him. I think this would be a perfect fit for both sides. Drop in the comments section, who do you think should be the next signing the Washington Commanders make for free agency? What's the next move the Colts must make this offseason? They should trade for Matt Ryan. This would be definitely an upgrade over Carson Wentz. Definitely a better idea to trade for him than Jimmy Garoppolo. I would take Matt Ryan over Jimmy Garoppolo or Carson Wentz any day. I understand Matt Ryan is supposed to make a lot of money this offseason, but whenever the Colts traded for Carson Wentz, they freed up cap space to get them the most cap space in this offseason in the league, a little over $70 million. I think they can afford to take on Matt Ryan's contract, and I think this is the move they must make this offseason. So there you have it. Do you think the Colts made a mistake trading Carson Wentz in the hopes of getting Jimmy Garoppolo? Do you think Terry McLaurin will have a resurgence now that Carson Wentz is his quarterback? Do you think Michael Pittman will drop in fantasy drafts next season? Let me know in the comments section. And before you leave this channel, go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell if you want to see more content just like this. We're here at The Losers Win Again. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.